Alright, welcome to today's lesson. Today I wanted to do a quick article about the pickles, the German Gewürzgurken. It's the way you call it in German. Eine Gewürzgurke. Anyways, yeah, I think let's just get into the article. As always, leave a like, leave a comment if you want, subscribe if you want to, and yeah. So, Gewürzgurke. This is an article obviously from Wikipedia. Gewürzgurken oder Essiggurken sind Gurken, die mit einem kochenden, gewürzten Essig-Kräutersud übergossen wurden und so eingelegt worden sind. That's the kind of more general introductory article kind of part. I think we're gonna do all of this, but yeah. So, let's quickly dissect that word. Gewürzgurke just means Gewürz, which just means a spice. Generally, spices, but Gewürz is just the singular form of that. Gurke is just a cucumber, but it's in this case referring to the, of course, pickle. Because it's a smaller kind of cucumber, so, Gewürzgurken oder Essiggurken sind Gurken. So that means these pickles, or you could say spiced cucumbers, that's the way you were to translate that in German. So pickles, or vinegar, Essiggurken just refers to Essig. I mean, you can't see that, but Essig is just the word for vinegar, in English. And Gurken is, of course, referring to cucumbers, so it's kind of the same. This both means pickles, is just, this is spiced cucumbers, and that is vinegared cucumbers, so you know what I mean, I think. Are cucumbers, die mit einem kochenden, that with a cooking. This, of course, there's a comma in front of that, because it's referring to this, so you always need to put a comma behind that. If you refer to something like, ich bin jemand, der, der, I am someone who, In English, I don't know if you need to put that comma in front of that, I don't think so, but I'm not experienced enough, so yeah. Die mit einem kochenden, gewürzten Essig-Kräutersud übergossen wurden. So that with a cooking, kochenden, that is referring to the, what's it called, passive, active, I don't know, form. Something is cooking, Gewürzten Essig-Kräutersud, that means, what's it called, or spiced, let me just check. Gewürzt. Seasoned, yeah, that's the way you would say that. So with a seasoned vinegar, Kräuter. Let me just, I forgot the word totally. Kräuter just means the herbs, of course. The green. I just don't know how to say that, but herbs just. So with a spiced herbs, vinegar herbs, Sud means a cooked, like when you have water and you put some spices and herbs and whatever in there, or with vinegar, a lot of times, and it's kind of referring to broth, but it just says it can be kind of anything that's cooked. I don't know if there's a word for that in English. Sud. No, that is definitely not the way that is referring to the south, because Süd in Deutsch is the same, in German is the same. Excuse me if I'm just confusing the two languages right now. Completely. So that is just referring to the south, because Süd with a Ü in German is the same as, it's not the same, but often it's kind of treated in language translating as the same, because they don't know what else to translate. But yeah. So with we could kind of say broth, but it's not a broth, but it's just a cooked liquid with a lot of spices and herbs in it, and so that with a cooking seasoned kind of, I think seasoned is more like when you put spices on top of something, but I don't know, it's just with spices and herbs in there, seasoned, vinegar, herbs, broth kind of thing, übergossen wurden, which just means like you what's it called? Is it called drain? Let me just, no, that's probably the wrong word. Not drain. I'm just confusing the languages right now, sorry. Übergießen, which is the infinitive form. Pour over, of course, yeah. I just totally blanked out on that word. So, that with a seasoned vinegar, herbs, broth, got, in this case because there's a wurden, which refers to the passive form, that would translate to have become, but in this case in English you would say they got poured over with this broth kind of thing, und so eingelegt wurden, and so, or this way, eingelegt, which means to, I think it's called to pickle something. That's why pickles, I think, are called pickles in English, or pickled, whatever. Einlegen. The thing is this, you can't really translate as one, because einlegen generally means insert something. That's why it translates in the kind of wrong way, but the correct way in general. Because einlegen just means like, ich lege eine CD ein, and you say, I insert a CD somewhere in kind of, CD player or whatever. But in this case, this is in terms of pickles, of course, when you pickle something, I guess. Let me just check. Yeah, pickle is probably here the right word. I mean, it sticks out pretty what's it called? You can see that it sticks out from the other verbs, because it's generally kind of when you put something in there, into something, and because it comes from the word to lay, liegen, something somewhere, and einlegen is just with a what's it called? Prefix? I don't know. Vorsilbe, let me just check. Vorsilbe, prefix, yeah, which kind of introduces a different depth to the word, but that's kind of another, I think it's called excursion. Excursion into something else, different topics, but yeah. We were at the topic of pickles. Alright, here we have, of course, a picture of pickles. I think there are actually some, just another excursion by the way, but some pretty, what's it called, famous brands in Germany. Let me just check. Bekannte Gewürzgurkenmarken Deutsch. Sorry if I spelled that wrong, but of course. Sorry, that is probably the wrong. Okay, let me just correct that. Maybe it finds something then. I'll probably need to switch to Google, because this browser doesn't support that. Bekannte Gewürzgurkenmarken Deutschland. Yeah. Oh, Gewürzgurken. Sorry if that is a bit boring for you. Here we have Hengstenberg, Kühne, Devele, und Spreewaldhof, which are just brands. I know that might be a bit more advanced to just go into these kind of searches, but I just wanted to show that there is, I think, Essiggurken. Yeah. Let me just put up a picture. Yeah, but I think because there are some memes actually in Germany that are quite famous, that is what I was kind of looking for. Because, yeah, I thought the brand was called Knax, because in Germany there is, I think, because I've seen that, a pretty kind of famous meme called knax-Gewürzgurken, or some pictures are made with that, because knax refers to the breaking of something, and it's kind of funny when you have that, because they are so kind of not crispy, but what's it called? Knackig. Crisp, yeah, crunchy you could say. So that is the way, probably why they're called knacks. But I just wanted to say that I think Germany has, but I'm not quite sure, a few famous, or kind of famous, pickle brands, and I think it's also kind of a German food, but let's just keep on going with this article. I think we'll get into that a bit, maybe. But no, there's no part of history, so yeah. Herstellung. Herstellung just means production, the way it's produced, not production in the sense of doing something productively, but in the sense of making of something. Herstellung. Yeah, manufacture, yeah. So it's slightly different to the English version, but yeah, that is another very, very slight difference, but a kind of excursion, that's what I want to say. You don't need to know that, but yeah. Die meistens industriell produzierten Gewürzgurken unterscheiden sich sehr in der Größe und in der verwendeten Gewürzmischung. The mostly industrially produced pickles differentiate themselves very in the size and in the used seasoning or spice mix, you could say. So I hope you understood that, because I did that kind of very fast. So yeah, the mostly you could say, meistens just refers to most, yeah. I think I translated that. So in general, the mostly produced, industrially produced pickles, yeah, differentiate them, not themselves. You need to say in German, to say that they differentiate, that they refer to themselves, because it's a reflexive verb, I think you call that, because it refers to themselves. So you need to say unterscheiden sich instead of unterscheiden, which would translate to the English differentiate. Sehr in der Größe, yeah, very much in the size, and they differentiate much in the size, and the used seasoning or spice mix, yeah. Sehr kleine Gewürzgurken, in Klammern Gürkchen, or just Gürkchen, werden Cornichons, I'm not sure that I translated that, pronounced that very much correctly, but yeah. In Klammern eigentlich Hörnchen, Verkleinerungsform von Corn, I'm just guessing that is French, but yeah. So, very small pickles. Gürkchen is just Chen, this Chen part here. I'm just gonna write it here, but I think you know what I mean. Is always the smaller kind of form, the, what's it called, belittling form? I don't know. I think you understand what I mean. Like the, what's the kind of, the way you would translate that in English? I think it's, you'd say, maybe you put an IE on the end, but I'm not quite sure, but it's the way you say, like in Spanish, poquitito or something, you know, or poquito. I'm not quite sure, but that's just the belittling form, like, when you have the word Hase, which is in German, the German word for rabbit, you would kind of say, because this is a more common one, Häschen, so you would put a chen on the end, at the end, and it becomes a kind of like cuter, smaller form. Like if you're referring to babies, you would use that, like baby rabbits or something. So you would just say, oh, das ist ein süßes Häschen, instead of, oh, das ist ein süßer Hase, which just translates to, oh, that is a cute little rabbit, kind of, instead of, oh, that is a cute rabbit. But yeah, I don't even know if there's something you could say in English, or there is a form, because my mind just doesn't come up with something right now, but I think you know what I mean. Well, let me just translate that. Häschen. I think often you kind of have to, I don't know what it's called, but kind of break the general, what's it called? Vokal. Let me just, bunny, just translates to bunny. Vokal. Vokal. Is that vocal? Vowel, of course. I totally blanked on that word. The, kind of break the vowel. I think that's probably not the right way to say it, but you make like a which is in Hessian out of an A, or you make an Ö out of an O. I know in British English it's kind of difficult to say that, but like O becomes Ö, and U becomes Ü, and A becomes A becomes E, because that is kind of the way you to do that. I mean, for an E or for an I in German there is no such thing, but yeah, because like, for example, I mean, this is another big excursion, you know, but like the word Hütte, no, that is maybe a bit, no, the word Hut is probably a better example. There is a German word called Hut, which just means a hat. And if you were to kind of make it a smaller, cute little hat, or cap, or whatever you want to say that. No cap, by the way. This would be Hütchen, so you would need to kind of make that, I don't know what's called in English, but kind of to break that and make that a Ü, and put a chen at the end. That was what I was referring to. I don't know if it's in every single case like that, but I think in most cases, except for like E's and I's. So E und I. Yeah, but let's just keep on going with the article. Yeah. Sehr kleine Gewürzgurken, Gürkchen. We have that here too. Gurke, which is with a U and no chen at the end. And here we have Gürkchen, which is with a Ü and a chen at the end. Werden, and that's of course the plural form, but yeah. But by the way, that is the plural and the singular form, because it just is that way. Because in German, most plural forms end on a en, so yeah. But that was a lot of grammar, little examples, so let's just keep on going. Sehr kleine Gewürzgurken, Gürkchen, werden Cornichons. You often, by the way, in German see these kind of Cornichons. I don't probably pronouncing that completely wrong, but you often see that, where that is written, that is the smaller version. I don't know, probably in wherever you're from, you've maybe also seen that. Often it's with like these small onions, but very often in like supermarkets they sell these kind of things. I don't know if it's instead of, but I think that I've actually probably seen more than the actual Gewürzgurken. Let me just check on the other pictures. Yeah, these are just the bigger ones, which are like maybe the size of your finger, and the other ones are maybe the size of maybe a small finger, but yeah. Anyways, let's just keep on going. So the smaller pickles, cute pickles, I don't know which way to translate that, like smaller pickles, become kind of, but that is referring to the passive form, and there is another verb, which is this, which is always at the end. Werden cornichons, I think I'm pronouncing that maybe half correct, but yeah. In Klammern eigentlich Hörnchen, so originally, that is kind of a word for itself in German because there is no direct translation. I mean, originally, or yeah, actually, yeah, but it's not. I mean, this comes from the word eigen, which just means own, kind of, and lich just means as the end form of an adjective, but yeah. So it's just saying it's an adjective in terms of owning something, but it just refers to the word originally or generally. Like, I would want to go there. Eigentlich würde ich dahin gehen. This kind of intention. Yeah. Your original intention. So originally, Hörnchen, which just means it just comes from, by the way, another, I don't even know it's called Verkleinerungsform. Diminutive. Yeah, in German it's called diminutive, I think. Diminutive form. But that is a grammar term. You actually absolutely don't need to know that, but yeah. Hörnchen, which comes from the word horn, which is probably horn in English too, yeah. And Hörnchen is kind of like a croissant, Hörnchen. Yeah, because that is in German also the word for a croissant, if you were to say that in very, like, I don't know, Switzerland, Swiss German, or something where they are kind of more deeper traditionally into the language, and south of Germany, maybe you would say that, but in general you say croissant in German. But back to this is just probably that means Hörnchen, so I don't even know which way to translate that, a horn or something. Means corn, and this is probably the diminutive form of that, I don't even know, but Verkleinerungsform, which, yeah, I said diminutive form, so the smaller form of something, the more cute form, and I guess that is from French, corn. Let me just French, corn. Yeah, horn, the same as I already said. Alright. Oh god, we didn't even make it to the half of it. Haven't even made it yet, so yeah. So they are being called very small. Genannt is just the second part of are being called. Very small pickles are being called cornichons, or whichever way you were to translate or pronounce that. So originally horns, I guess, the smaller form of Korn. Ja. Häufig finden sich Dill, gelbe Senfkörner, Zwiebeln, Salz und eventuell Zucker sowie Aromen wie Pfeffer im Sud. That just means often, häufig, often. I think there's another word, but I'm just blanking out on that. Frequently, yeah. Commonly, I think that was what I was thinking about. Commonly, or yeah. I think often find themselves, that would be word by word. I don't know which way you should say that. That's a herb, whichever way you were to say that, Dill, because that is a spice herb. Yeah. Gelbe Senfkörner, which just means yellow mustard. What's it called? Mustard. Gelbe Senfkörner. Yellow mustard seeds, yeah. Zwiebeln, onions, Salz, salt, und eventuell Zucker. And there's not eventually is something else in English. Eventuell just means maybe, like as an option, because in the case of some events, which actually makes more sense in German than maybe in English, maybe. Not trying to start a debate, but yeah. Zucker, sugar, as well as sowie, just means as well as. Aromen, is it called aromas? I'm not quite sure. Flavors or aromas, like pfeffer. I'm always confusing if it's the same in English, because there is a kind of split version in English between pepper, bell pepper, and these kind of things, because that's kind of confusing. German's pretty easy because it's pfeffer. Yeah, pepper, but it's referring to the herb of pepper, I think. By the way, I don't even know if you were to pronounce that herb or herb, but I think herb is the correct form. But anyways, pfeffer. Yeah, this is kind of just the spicier, these seed kind of things, not the red bell pepper or anything like that, just to not get you confused. Im Süd, not in the south, but in the broth, whatever. I already sort of talked about that. So, often finden sich, that would be word by word, find themselves, but that is just saying that there is something, or you can find something there, not actively, but just in general that there is something. Häufig finden sich dill, so dill, I think. Don't know if it's correct, but yeah. Gelbe Senfkörner, yellow mustard seeds, onions, salt, and not eventually. That is what I was saying is a mistake to translate that this way. And maybe, what was it I was saying? Eventuell. Possibly, yeah, that's the way you could say that also. Possibly sugar, as well as aromas or flavors like pepper, I guess, in the broth. Der Sud wird auch als Gurkenwasser bezeichnet. There are a lot of memes around this, believe me. That is, I don't know, but the German meme culture kind of is a bit weird, but yeah. Because, let's get into it. I hope you know what that means, but I'll explain it. Der Sud wird auch als Gurkenwasser bezeichnet. The broth wird bezeichnet in the passive form, as well as the future form, but, that is referring to the passive. So, is being called, bezeichnet, refers to the word Zeichen, which just means sign, but in this case it's just saying is being called, etwas bezeichnen, I'm calling it, I'm naming it, ich bezeichne etwas, that's the way you would translate that. Der Sud wird auch als Gurkenwasser bezeichnet, the broth is being called, also als Gurkenwasser, as pickle water, and I don't know why, but I mean, as I'm telling you, there are so many memes around just generally pickles and pickle water. Let me just Gurken. I mean, you don't need to know that, but that's just I mean, you probably don't know what that means, but that's kind of funny because that just means pickle water against muscle cramps. Oh god, no, of course this is written this way. Gurkenwasser meme. Yeah, as I'm telling you, it's full of that. Gurkenwasser. Or, yeah, I mean, that is not maybe showing all the, but Gurkenwasser is maybe not the most. Gurken, Gewürzgurken. I mean, as I already said, you don't need to know that, but it's kind of worth checking out. Gewürzgurken. Yeah, it's not just not showing it right. No, let me just copy. I guess this browser is also not too full of infos. Google. Let me just. Yeah, as I'm telling you, Google's already in that. Hey Steve, ich hab mich in eine Gurke verwandelt. By the way, if you want a kind of meme translation session, we could also do that. Just write in the comments. Here's just writing, hey Steve, I turned into a pickle, or cucumber in this case. Ich Gurkenrig. I am cucumber-rig. Something, I don't know, probably something referring to a series called, I don't even know what it's called, but a German TV series. This is with Shrek. Yeah, it's just, yeah. Anyways, Gewürzgurken meme. Maybe Knax, that is maybe also worth checking out. Yeah, that is a real meme culture. And not culture, thus maybe I'm kind of overestimating it all a bit, but I think it's kind of funny. Anyways. Yeah, so the broth is also called Gurkenwasser, which just means pickle water. Yeah. So the last thing, which is kind of more specific, I don't even know why they put that in here, because Wikipedia is kind of a serious website, and that is kind of a not unserious thing, but this is called Gurkenfächer. Fächer just means, what's it called? The thing where you move it and I'm just translating it. It's kind of, I don't have the word right now. Fan, yeah, like this kind of thing made out of I'm just gonna show it to you. I don't know the word right now, because fan kind of seems incorrect, that kind of thing. This is what I'm referring to. Fächer, which is of course, that is why this is called Gurkenfächer, because it's the same principle, where you have this as the turning point and there are the layers which are spreading, and but not for the sake of making air go into your face when it's hot outside or inside or wherever you are. Anyways, als Gurkenfächer bezeichnet man Dekorelemente der kalten Küche. As a, what's it called? I don't even know which way to translate that. I'm just gonna say fan because it's what Google said, but it's probably not the right thing to say. Let me just... No. Probably not, but I would call it a layered... Can you say layered out? I'm not quite sure, but cucumber... not cucumber. But cucumber in this case, but it refers to the pickles. Pickled fan, layer, whatever thing, Bezeichnet man, another time this word. This is just, yeah. Bezeichnet man. Man is of course the form in German. I think it's quite special, kind of. I don't think you have that in English, where you have a objective outer person, kind of the general, I don't know if it's correct to say that, but standard, like man macht doch dies und das, one does this. Yeah, you could say in English one does this and this. Like man bezeichnet the general human does this or that, But in general that just means as a pickle, I would call it a layered pickle, but I don't know. Layered pickle, bezeichnet man, word by word, calls one. Dekorelemente, decorative elements, I guess, of the cold kitchen, but cold kitchen in this case, it's also written in here, refers to when the food that you serve doesn't get, they say here, doesn't get heated. What's it called? Heated? Yeah, there is no more like doing something with it with heat after being served, or yeah, I think it's just general, like, if you put bread and, kind of something cold, vegetables or whatever on top of your bread and eat that. That is the cold kitchen, so called in German. Instead of like when you have, I don't know, like pizza or spaghetti or something, and that is being cooked, and that is just the way you would say that in German. Die kalte Küche just refers to this area of cooking, and I think also baking, but it's rather referring to cooking. So there's a decorative element of this cold cooking area. I don't know which way you would say that in English. Küche. Yeah, that is probably not the right way to say that, but yeah. Dafür verwendet man eingelegte Gurken wie Gewürzgurken und Salzgurken. Therefore is not the right way. For that, therefore is something else, but for that, dafür, da, there, für, for. That's why I'm always kind of thinking therefore, but it's not the right thing to say, because it means something else in English. Dafür, for that, verwendet man. Another time there's more general kind of way to say that. One uses pickles, I guess. That's the way you would say that in German, because it's eingelegte Gurken, and in English it's just pickles. Eingelegte Gurken wie Gewürzgurken und Salzgurken. For that, one uses pickles, or pickles, like pickles and salted pickles, I guess, or salted cucumbers. But keep in mind that Gurken generally just refers to cucumbers, but in this case, like in this special case, eingelegte Gurken, it just refers to the pickled cucumbers, you could say, but it's just pickles in English. Yeah. Just don't confuse it, because in this case it's probably mostly referring to pickles, but not to cucumbers. Diese werden der Länge nach diagonal halbiert. Those get the length after diagonally halved. This just means der Länge nach. Nach just means in terms of something or in relation, kind of, because in this case it means they get, do you say halved, cut into halves, halbieren, let me just, halved, I guess, cut into halved, divided into twos. So they get halved diagonally, der Länge nach, or you could say, the thing is, in terms of that doesn't make correct sense in this case, but it's kind of like, which way would you say that? Der Länge nach. Let me just ask Google. Der Länge nach. Lengthwise, yeah, that's what you would say. Wise, because wise is kind of similar to in terms of, but it's not the same thing. It just means diagonally, but that's the way you'd say that in German. You could also say, diese werden diagonal halbiert, but you would generally more often say der Länge nach halbiert. Yes, so they get cut into halves diagonally. Danach schneidet man sie vom breiten Ende her in gleich große Scheiben auf. After that, oder danach just means, after that, danach, thereafter. So, after that, cut one them of the wide end her, can't really translate that into English, in gleich große, same as big, like gleich große just means, just same as big. You can't really translate that word by word. Scheiben, layers, no, Scheibe, what's it called? Blanking on that word. Desk, slices, slice, I guess. Into same as big slices. So after that, one cuts them from the big. Breit generally means wide, but in this case it's thicker, bigger end, I guess. So after that, one cuts them from the bigger or thicker end into same as big slices, or disc, but disc is just not the right way to say that, or to translate that. I think you get what I mean with the sentence. Am schmalen Ende lässt man einen Teil der Schale stehen und nutzt dieses Stück dann als Angel des Fächers. Okay, that is definitely a bit more advanced, but yeah. Am schmalen Ende, at the schmal, thin, you could say. Schmal just refers to something, it's a different kind of thin. I mean, that is probably difficult for English speakers to understand, but schmal, it's not the same as thin, but it just means thin. Just referring to probably different things, I think it's more referring to to things. Yeah. Am schmalen Ende lässt man einen Teil der Schale stehen. At the thin end, lets one a part of the genitive case of the what's it called? Of the Schale, of course, a word with different meanings. Peel, yeah, you could say peel. Schale could also mean like if you have I'm just blanking on words today. Muesli, Schale. Cereal bowl, a bowl, that could mean Schale, but in this case it just means the peel. So at the thin end, lets one a part of the peel stand and uses this part und nutzt dieses Stück dann als Angel des Fächers. Then as Angel in general means fishing, what's it called? Fishing, probably I need to say fish angel, even though it's not a common word to say. Fishing rod, Angel, ankle, is it really that way? But you know, for fishing, this long thing you use. Just let me translate that, not translate that. Look that up. Yeah, let's just. Angel fisher. Because English. It's just this kind of thing, you know. But I think you get what I mean. So, but in this case, it just refers to when you build something, you have a it's kind of difficult to describe that because it's more advanced also in terms of the matter of it, because that just means that you have a turning point and it's kind of held together. It's a more advanced word used to describe that something is turning around that point. Let me just angel, fish, angel, that's also in terms of windows a kind of no, that is definitely not the right way to say that. That is, I think, kind of this you refer, no, windows, doors probably more, where you have this, as was referring to basically in this article, kind of. You say Türangel, Türangel, which is the part of, yeah, it's kind of more Scharnier. Also another X-course, Scharnier, yeah, of course. A hinge of a door where it's able to turn around without just breaking, I guess, or anything. Like, it just works, you know. And this is referring to this, that it can turn around without breaking. I mean, actually it can't really, but it's just the way it's as what's it called? It's this it starts beweglich. Let me just movable, mobile. These kind of things are the dehnbar. Yeah, I guess that's the way you'd say that. Stretchable, yeah. That you can turn them this way, even though you can't actually like turn them, but I think you get what I mean. Of the Fächer, which I think means fan or layered kind of thing. So at the small end, unless a part of the peel be there, I guess stehen generally means stand, but this is just leaving it to be, and uses this part as a hinge, I guess, of the fan is not the right way to say it, but I'm gonna use it, of the fan. Für die Zubereitung drückt man danach die Gurke auf einer glatten Oberfläche gleichmäßig auseinander und erhält durch die langen Gurkenstreifen einen Fächer. So that would word by word mean for the what's it called? Zubereitung, preparing, I guess, preparation, just to do it. I mean, just serving. No, Zubereitung. No, not the right way to write that. Preparation, making. Yeah, rather the making. For the making, presses, one. Danach, after that, the Gurke, in this case pickle, but generally cucumber, onto a, or no, on a. Could also mean onto, if you were to say I press it onto something, but in general that means on a glatt, what's it called? And it's something that's very slide. My mind is just kind of confusing the two languages right now. Glatt, slippery, I guess, kind of. Smooth, you could say. But slippery was what I was thinking of, but it's not the right way to say that. On a smooth surface. So, für die Zubereitung drückt man danach die Gurke auf einer glatten Oberfläche gleichmäßig auseinander. For the preparation or making, presses one after that the cucumber, in this case pickle, on a smooth surface gleichmäßig, in the same way. What's it called? Gleichmäßig. Evenly, yeah, of course. Evenly apart from each other, I guess it's just referring to that you press on it and it turns into this, from a complete pickle into this, you know. Auseinander just means away from each other, kind of. Und erhält durch die langen Gurkenstreifen einen Fächer. And erhält just means to get something, to receive, through the long pickle. This means stripes, but it's just referring to one of these slices, kind of. A fan, whatever, you know what I mean. So for the making of it, one presses after that onto the pickle on a smooth surface, evenly apart from each other, kind of, you know, and receives or gets, due to that, a pickle fan, a layered pickle, you know, whichever you were to translate that, whichever way. Alright, I think that's it for today. If you have any questions, if I missed out on anything, just write in the comments. Might be. I think I confused a lot today, but I did a lot of excursions, but I think it was kind of funny. If you want like the meme things in the future, just write in the comments. I think it's also kind of more entertaining. But in general, yeah, I think that was also interesting. Yeah, leave a like, leave a comment if you want to, and see you in the next video.